And we're live here on Vet Connect. Welcome back to a place where we talk about veterans businesses with some of our veteran partners around the world. Today we have with us Nick Salinas on Vet Connect. Hold on a second. Let me mute this so I can actually hear. So Nick grew up in Southern California following 9/11. He graduated high school and headed off to the illustrious West Point to become one of those officers. He graduated from the U.S. Military Academy in 2007 with a bachelor's degree in economics and a minor in mechanical engineering. He served on active duty from 2007 to 15, initially as an air defense officer, and then qualified as a Green Beret. He's currently a Green Beret and serving in a slot at an organization. When he left in 2015, he moved to Texas, where he attended grad school with the Texas A&M and the Bush School of Public Service and Administration, and joined the Texas National Guard. After he graduated A&M, he accepted a role as one of Amazon's first military pathways candidates. He worked as an operations manager for Amazon for 2 years and then left to be a full-time operations role with SOD A, that's a Special Operations Detachment Africa here in the Texas Army National Guard. He is an entrepreneur, of what some would call a serial entrepreneur. He's a co-founder of Salinas Concrete in Deming, New Mexico. He's a co-founder of South by Sandwich in Spicewood, Texas, and he is the COO of Stoned Ape Inc. Welcome, Nick. That's a hell of a resume. West Pointer, Green Beret, businessman, entrepreneur. What else you got, man? That's it?
I'm just middle of the road, all of that. Average West Pointer, average Green Beret, average entrepreneur. But thanks for having me, guys. It's been a while since we've caught up, and it's an honor to be here.
Absolutely, man.
Glad to have you on the show. We're interested to hear about what you've been up to and how things are going in life.
So tell us a little more for our audience listening out there, a little bit more about yourself, how you kind of came to all this. You know, we gave the bio there, but what kind of started you toward the Army route initially?
Well, I think you hit pretty much like the meat and the center of it. I think I was born to join the military as a young kid. I battled between, am I going to go to the Marines? Am I going to go to the Army? And then at just some point, it might have been, let's see, it would have been in 1990, whenever Black Hawk Down came out. I went and saw that, and I was like, I'm going to go be a Ranger. Like, it's going to be Army. And I want to say a couple years after that, no, I think that came out in middle school. I'm sorry, it's such a long time ago. But either way, I was like, okay, now I'm going to join the Army. Got to high school, joined JROTC, was ready to go. I think I had been accepted to West Point, or at least the prep school. I got accepted to the prep school, and they're like, okay, well, if you're good enough to pass this, then we'll send you to the real thing. And I was like, okay, thanks. It feels real good. And then senior year, 9/11 happened, and that's when it like, okay, let's go. I knew I was graduating, going to go to the East Coast. East Coast was pretty much still recovering. It was recovering for years after 9/11. Went to West Point and then graduated from there. And like you said, did the stint on active duty from 7 to 15. But I think like the nexus of it all was at the prep school is where I met my best friend, who is now my business partner. So I'll kind of pause there, but that's kind of where it started, was in 2002. And now we're in 2023, and now we're finally working together.
Jesus. Get that long history.
Yeah.
Just FYI, I had about 5 years on an A-team when you were.
Yep.
I'm just telling you.
Well, someone's always older. Someone's gonna.
It means you'll die first.
That's all that means, man. You're gonna die before me. Good deal. And so, as you kind of navigated these waters, what has drawn you toward? Okay, let's talk about the concrete business. What's the order of these things? So it's concrete business, and then South by Sandwich, and then Stoned Ape, right?
So in terms of inception, it was Salinas Concrete. That was a venture with my dad. He came to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to start a ready mix business with me?" And I was like, "I have no idea. I know nothing about ready mix or anything. I know he does." So I was kind of apprehensive at first, but really started doing research on the industry, not just construction, but concrete in general, and just kind of looked around and realized there's concrete in absolutely everything. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So that we launched that the year of COVID, and so we started that first. I jumped on the Stoned Ape team thereafter that, and that's been the project for the last almost 3 years. And then I started South by Sandwich before I moved to Tampa. So we launched that before Stoned Ape. So in terms of inception, like that happened first, but it would be South by or Concrete, Stoned Ape, which has been the longest project and like taking the breath out of us, and then the sandwich brand in Texas.
And so tell us a little bit about the sandwich brand.
So yeah, we have it's obviously South by Sandwich. It's a play off of South by Southwest Austin. We're in Spicewood. I don't know if you've ever been to Spicewood, but back in the day, I mean, it was pretty separated from Austin. But now with the growth in Austin, it's almost like how Austin and San Antonio are just slowly merging together.
Yeah.
But yeah, now Spicewood, just like Leander and all these other towns and that used to be towns, are just becoming that metropolis like Dallas did to all those little towns.
Plano, McKinney, everything just got pulled into.
Now everyone just calls it Dallas, right? So, so it's starting to bleed in. But yeah, we're in Spicewood, Texas. I got a business partner, Josh. He runs it. But we just wanted we wanted to put something out in an area because that's where I was living at the time when I was the full-time OIC for Special Operations Detachment Africa, and I was living out there, and there just wasn't a lot of like food options out there. There just wasn't. There was bar food everywhere, and that's good sometimes. There's plenty of taco trucks. I mean, it's Austin or that Austin area. There's a million taco trucks all over the place. So we wanted to start something that was a little bit different. And we also wanted something that was easily manageable at worst case scenario for one person. So at first we were like, oh, let's do Mediterranean. And like, that sounds amazing. Mediterranean is excellent food. You need a whole staff for Mediterranean food if you're going to do it right. So we ended up going with sandwiches, but not just sandwiches, but like gourmet style sandwiches. Okay. The Philly cheesesteak, I would say, is our staple. That we call that the Willie Philly because Willie Nelson lives like behind us in the area in Briarcliff back there. So we have the Willie Philly, and I think that's one of our best sandwiches. But so that's
any expansion to the food truck industry.
What was that?
Are you planning on expanding that to a mobile operation?
So we actually went mobile first, and now we're working into getting brick and mortar. Okay. But now that the whole place is just blowing up, it's hard to find something that's one, affordable, and two, just the location. It's really the location is big because while it's on, we're kind of off the beaten path off of 71, which is a very major thoroughway that connects up north to Austin. Unless you have the good advertising or unless it's like right in your face, no one's going to know you're there. So that's why we went big because we are kind of like off the beaten path. We went pretty heavy on social media, Google ads, just getting it in front of people to say, hey, we're an option here. You just got to turn off 71. So far we've been doing pretty well, at least enough to keep us open. And at this point, that's all we care about. I'm not going to retire from it, but it was a good project.
A learning experience.
Very, very good learning experience on the food side. And just trying, how do you get someone to come to you, right? And you guys probably are tracking it on Twitch and all those other mediums. How do you get someone to go from here to where you're at? And you can do that in any environment. You guys know that from the military and operations and the information space. How do you get this one person I want to eyeballs, put those eyeballs over here? That's kind of the challenge, but it's a good challenge. I like it.
Did the concrete operation with your dad kind of light that entrepreneurial spirit to have you to kind of branch out and do other things, or?
It really did. I mean, I've always wanted to do something, but you just don't know what it's going to be. Or you always have someone that'll say, oh, I want to start my own business, but just never do it, right? Because it's scary. It is. There are challenges associated with it. And it's scary. There's a lot of risk to it. But it's like that threshold. Don't freeze in that. If you're going to do it, you go in. Like you've got to just do it and be confident doing it. And don't be afraid to fall on your face or lose. Like that's all part of it. But yeah, once I saw we were successful in doing that, I figured we can apply it or I can apply it in a lot of different other ways. So it really helped, I guess, expand that confidence that, okay, just like anybody can start a business. You just have to have some sort of savvy, right? Like you're going to have to be able to solve problems or network or understand second and third order effects as a larger operation. So yeah, Lucas, to answer your question, 100%. That's what pretty much started it.
It's during this time, it's been a challenge for the business world. I think from the small business perspective, there's a lot of resources out there for veterans, and I'm sure you've explored some of those things, whether it's a small business administration or whether it's the multiple different access avenues out there. But I got to tell you, man, over the last 18 months, those things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is because of the way the economy currently is, in not really small business friendly, at least from my foxhole. I don't know what it looks like from where you're sitting, but it's the cost of money is a big deal when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get whether it's financing or investment or whatever the case might be. You and I talked a little bit pre-show. There's just not a lot of expendable income out there for folks right now. And I think that's why we're all adjusting our business models just a little bit and trying to figure out what the path forward is, or when the relief is going to come.
No, that's just the reality of it right now, and we can hope it doesn't last forever. We know it won't, but we just don't know when that cycle comes back around into what we want to see. But,
well, it's the constant hunt for what's the next big one, right? Yeah. I think we're all in that. I don't think you can ever go wrong with concrete or food.
It's in the last. Yeah, but we have seen, like, the one thing with concrete is, like, you'll get the orders for things that have to happen, whether it's road repair or retaining walls, things like they have to happen, and usually that's money that's going to be from local or state governments, things like that.
Programmatic money, yeah.
Yeah. What ends up pausing is, okay, this family wanted a new driveway. Well, they're probably it's not the time for it, or their swimming pool, or a footer for a new beautiful fence that they wanted to put in. It's just that they don't want to spend their money on that right now when they're just trying to survive, like everyone is. So we completely understand that. It's just the time we're in.
Yeah, those lean times lead to like streamlined business processes and more agility as a smaller company, where you can shift some of your orientation to opportunity. So I think everybody in the industry is feeling all of those pain points at this juncture, but we should all come out that much better for it on the back end.
Oh, 100%. You talk about the agility part and just leaning out. One, you should be doing that anyways in a business, but it's now it's out of necessity, right? Like you guys have been to Afghanistan, where some of the most like ingenuitive things you've ever seen are done with people that don't have anything, or other countries that they have nothing, but they're the most ingenious little contraptions or ways they do things, because they don't, it's out of necessity, and it's out of like scarcity, really. And I think that's what we're finding ourselves in, for especially small business and small entrepreneurs that have a limited pocket.
It's that necessity being the mother of invention. That old adage still holds true.
100%.
And for us nowadays, looking for that better mousetrap.
Yeah.
So if we let's transition over. Initially, your education was centered around, obviously, what you got at West Point, mechanical engineering and economics. Has that background helped you kind of in the business world? I noticed you went back for grad school and kind of dipped your toe into that business part of it for your MBA.
I got it's a public policy degree. And,
okay, public policy.
And that just let me know that I don't want to do anything in government or policy. At least I learned that. I got thanks, Uncle Sam. At least let me know what I don't want to do, and that's kind of what sparked into, like, okay, I do want to go a little bit more into business. I would say on the economic side, studying economics at West Point really piqued my interest, because It is. It's defined as the allocation of scarcity. That's what economics is, and you can apply it to a lot of different things. We're just humans, and we most commonly associate it with money because that's all we care about, right? Like we're greedy people at root. Um, but it's the allocation of scarcity, right? How do you make the most out of what you got? Lower your margins and so forth. And that's where I took that, and then went to grad school, went to Amazon, and then really started getting into like the Lean Six Sigma side because you're like force fed that stuff in a facility like that, and I started really liking like the Lean Six Sigma side, and okay, that's kind of like economics, and from there it's okay. How do you apply this into an operation? And you don't really need to do it in the military because you're not bound by money, right? Most of the time, right? You're not really, unless you're an XO or a warrant, you're not really tracking funds. You just like, oh, I got to go train, right? I got a bunch of ammo. So I think there's on one side the military helps you out with business, and the other side it doesn't because you just don't care about money. And the other thing is one of the biggest costs in a business is labor. You don't care about labor in the military either because you can just throw bodies at it from dusk till dawn, if you absolutely needed to. But on the business side, on the private sector, you got labor, and it's going to cost, and they've got rights, and that's really just how are you most efficient with those assets?
You had a relatively soft landing in that with O&M and P&A being exposed to the National Guard side of things.
Yeah.
You do have to plan for a little bit of cost.
No. Yeah. No, absolutely. There are all positions that are more.
And I was just saying.
Yeah. 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, tell me a little bit more about how you landed at Amazon as kind of one of the first military pathway candidates over there. How'd that work out?
Yeah, let's see. I was in grad school and went to one of a conference, like a career conference, and just stopped off at the Amazon booth, and there happened to be a retired Green Beret that was behind the desk, and he was a recruiter at the time, and he was just like, hey, have you heard of it used to be called Pathways. And that was geared towards MBAs, where they used to headhunt MBAs coming out of all these top MBA programs, and they were good. They knew the numbers, they knew business, they were great. Where they're having trouble was leadership skills, right? It was easier to teach numbers to someone than teaching leadership. So what they did is they kept the Pathways program, and then they started military pathways, or the MLP, I think it was the Military Leadership Program. Where they said, okay, we're going to take military leaders and just teach them business, and that's kind of where I was like, okay, I think I was one of the first cohort to get selected, and now it's been running for years now, and a lot of my peers are doing excellent things now. They're way up there. But yeah, I stopped at a desk, and a fellow Green Beret tricked me, like we all get tricked at some point by a Green Beret. And now he was great. It was a great opportunity. I learned a lot, and it made me who I am today, especially in the business world.
So what did your kind of day to day look like in that program? For any, if there's military, we got plenty of military office or military people out there listening. If they were interested in a program at Amazon, what could they kind of expect from that on the day to day?
So I can speak for facility life, so fulfillment life. There's so many other different branches of military. There's Amazon Air, there's AWS. I mean, there's tons of different opportunities. I was an operations guy in a fulfillment center. I can only speak for that. It's demanding, right? It's a full-on operation. It is a nonstop operation, and the best way I can compare it to, not everybody's going to get this analogy, but it's like being a B team leader in mountain phase and ranger school every single day. Like you're running around, and you get nothing from it. You're just helping you're helping that
get their go, yeah.
Get their go, and then it starts back up the next day. No matter what you did that day, that didn't matter. New numbers are coming through. The new orders are coming through the next day. Yeah, a lot of walking, a lot of problem solving, interpersonal skills, especially if you're a manager of any level. You're going to be engaging with your associates nonstop. So interpersonal skills are huge, but it's a pretty demanding but very rewarding operation, because it is not the second you get in, you do your stand up and you go straight to the floor and you're putting out fires or helping the operation in some sense, until you go home, and then you high five. For me, I was day shift. You high five night shift. They come in. You come in the next morning. And you high five them again. So, but it's a nonstop operation, and I have only us to thank for it because we can't stop buying stuff off of Amazon.
Bye, Sam.
And
Bye, Ralph.
I'm one of them. So.
Well, honestly, I don't think people realize how big that machine is.
Oh, it's
When you talk about a fulfillment center, there's literally probably now thousands and thousands of Amazon fulfillment centers. And when you get something, we're such a high demand society now. If I don't get it in a day, I'm pissed. I had things delivered in Afghanistan from Amazon in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what that actually takes.
It's a very well-oiled system, and they're not happy with it. When I say that, it's like it's its own organization. Like the culture of it will never be happy. It's always trying to be better. It's always trying to be innovative. It's always trying to cut down errors, be more efficient. It's constantly on this
rooted
cycle.
in change.
It's constantly trying to do that, to stay ahead of competitors or just stay being the partner of choice for commerce for the common person, whether it's the American or how they're spreading around the world. You have Alibaba and Walmart and Target trying to ride that coattail, but their knack for innovation and change is what kind of keeps them moving forward. So I really respected that, and that's where the creativity side of it really I kind of grabbed onto, and that's where I apply now to the businesses that I started.
Making those efficient, those operations efficient at a small scale. Initially, when you look at where Amazon came from, it was about books, right? And so, whoever thought? I mean, I imagine, and I can't speak for Jeff Bezos, but I would imagine that he had a larger vision for what that was going to become. But I think it was a lot of a snowball too, where people said, "You mean we can deliver this content quickly?" And books of all things, right? You blew the library model out of the water.
That's how it started.
You made something irrelevant at that point. And I don't say that libraries are irrelevant, because it's more of a meditation space now than anything else. But to tell you the truth, it just where it started and where it has gone to, I don't think even they could imagine in their wildest dreams.
No, absolutely not. And I love the idea that he's and I mean, the guy's a genius. So I can only, like you said, I can only imagine he did have a bigger picture in mind, but he ops tested it with books. Like, let's just see. People still are manually reading books. Kindle hadn't come out yet. The iPad hadn't come out yet. You had eBay, which was kind of doing things, but he disrupted that industry by just starting with books. And then he goes, okay, well, we've got the system down with books. Mm-hmm. Now let's expand. And then I think that way we tend to bite off too much sometimes, and we have a big picture in our mind and we go straight for that big picture, but we don't do shaping operations up to that big picture. And I think that's what he did, and I think that's what's important to do in an operation. Don't get too hungry too fast, and don't outpace your own engine is what I'd say. And I think that's what he did, and now it's like the sky's the limit, and literally he's going in space. So
I think there's literally thousands of books out there that say exactly that same thing, from a small business perspective. Keep your eye on the prize, but build incrementally.
That's
never hire too fast. And we made those mistakes. I think every small business has made those type of mistakes. And then you look back at it, and if you're in that military mindset, you're always doing that AAR. It's always a rolling AAR, right?
Yep.
Like, how can we do this better? What did we do wrong? How do we fix it going forward in the future? You're gonna make mistakes, but I guess the idea is and repeat the mistake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's harder than it sounds, but
And no, I get it. Believe me, I get it.
Yeah, like the keeping your hands firmly on the reins where you can like slow
right.
everything down becomes one of the biggest challenges that we face. I mean, especially in the technology domain, everything is at your disposal as long as you can think about it. You can figure out how to solve all these creative technical problems. So, like to maintain that laser-like focus on what you're doing in the immediate becomes challenging sometimes. That's
Oh, absolutely.
some of our areas for growth.
And it's always good to talk to other entrepreneurs a
Yeah,
little bit to
yeah,
understand that you're not alone in that. And so if you're out there and you're struggling in business, you know, write it down, man,
Oh
and
yeah.
then actually look at it.
Yes. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I find a lot of times I write a lot of stuff down, and then I go back and I'm like, why did I write that down again?
Yeah. That's
So
what does
whatever,
this have to do with?
it's about being organized and whatever. And Lucas and I have talked about this 100 times. Even when we were working together in National Guard, it's like the folder system. Oh my God, what tool are we going to use this week? Well, the
yeah.
tool isn't the teacher.
Yeah.
And I know you've been through this too.
Yeah.
Whether
No,
it's
I'm laughing because I feel you guys.
Same problem, different uniform.
Yeah. Pretty much it.
Yeah, knowledge management, all your uh,
Yeah. Knowledge management's a big one, and even
collaboration, and
yeah.
yeah,
And it grows out, and you think, oh, I know where this thing's going to be, or this receptacle it's in, and now I find myself, hey, where we put this,
yeah,
where we drop this on it, like, yeah. So knowledge management is, I'm at some point I'm going to have to like clean up some of our stuff, and just because I think our information is outpacing us right now, and
yeah.
we've got to kind of bring it like those range you talked about, Lucas, bring it back in a little bit before, because I feel like we're just duplicating a bunch of things, and we're like, I will find it one day, but
Yeah, my advanced education is in org development.
yeah,
So, like change management, change implementation is
yeah,
like always at the forefront of everything that I make decision wise. So it's easy for Sean and I to have that conversation. Hey, this system will work for now, knowing that it's going to change
yeah.
or evolve into something else. It's immensely helpful in that regard.
I'd say that's probably the biggest key is being able to forecast. You can say something is like, okay, this is steady state for now, but like we know it's going to evolve, we know it's going to change. It's better than, okay, this is how it's going to be for now, and it's going to be like that forever, and we're just going to like forget about it and move forward, and then it just becomes a problem, another problem on top of dozens others that
Yeah.
you'll face when down the road. So being able to
Yes.
forecast helps out
So
a
many
lot.
little fires, you
Oh
have to prioritize
yeah,
what you put out, and what you let fester. And that becomes one of those things where you just kind of plant a bunch of seeds and they will grow over time as everybody starts to feel those uncomfortable pain points along those different journeys. When Chad's running down his avenue of approach and I'm moving down my avenue of approach, we bump into the same problem. Like, all right, now we have to address this because it's affecting what I'm doing, it's affecting what you're doing, it's
yep,
affecting what Nick's doing. So now we have to kind of like stop, take a break, reorient, observe the problem from a different direction, decide on what we're doing differently, and
absolutely.
act. A lot of those basic fundamental principles, OODA loops and all of your crosswalk type scenarios, it all applies across this. And Sean and I beat our heads to against the wall from time to time with operational design and
Oh
op
yeah,
art as it relates to what we're doing from a business
oh
perspective.
yeah.
Immensely helpful for all of that exposure from my time in the military. I'm super excited that I have that as a card I can pull out from time to time to kind of think about things differently.
On a broader sense too,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like that's, you talk about that art and design. That's what it's for, is for that broader sense, and the
yeah,
how, like your vision, and now like how is it going to happen, or what are all
yeah,
the linkages to that end state. Um, it's important to be able to visualize that. And like you said, OODA loop, and there's so many different frameworks you can use, and they're all still being used for a reason. You just got to find the right one
yeah,
that fits you. Like not every framework is for every single person, whether it's MDMP or JPP or whatever it is. Though you got to find the framework that works for you, or the type of business you're in. Like not everything is a one stop shop. But
yeah.
So
completely.
what kind of challenges have you found so far? Let's transition a little bit now to Stoned Ape proper. What kind of challenges have you found in kind of the nootropics industry, if you will, well, with getting started? For you've been about 3 years now at this thing, right?
Yeah.
Where
So
how did it start? I mean, I know it started with an idea, but what does day one look like?
I'll start with about a 3 year span from like, okay, I got brought onto the team, and the two co-founders had this idea and been working on it even prior to me. They met at business school, and they created the name and what they wanted to do. So for me coming on to launch has been just about 3 years, and I'll preface it with there are problems and then there were issues. So problems are I mean, neither are horrible, but like problems are like you've identified something. Here's a problem, right? Like, so like, what is our brand going to be? That's a problem. But like, it's not about it. You're just, okay, what is the brand? Like, right? What's the face of it? What's the personality of it? Okay, next problem. Like, um, um, who's your market focus, right? You've got all these other great competitors that are after these like high level athletes, whatever it is. It's a very saturated market to begin with. So are we going to do the same, sing the same song, or are we going to be, different in some way? So that's another problem. Packaging. What's our packaging going to be look like, right? So there's all these like problem sets that we solved along the way, um, all the way into the formula, right? Now we'll get into some of the issues, and these are broad, kind of a broad spectrum because there's tons of them throughout the time. Um, so one of the issues was, okay, we figured out we wanted this size bottle, we wanted it frosted. Now it's where do we get it from? And it was like right when we found out where to get it from. We went to a convention, found the bottle manufacturer, the jar manufacturer we wanted. Um, as soon as we signed the contract, it like within a week was the supply chain
Crashed.
crash that happened. So we couldn't get it from anywhere, or at least it got pushed right for months. And so just that stopped us from being able to like do several other downstream requirements, such as manufacturing, right? Our manufacturer can't manufacture until he has something to put the stuff in. So that kept getting pushed. So the 3 year mark is really based off of just some issues that we ran into like that. Um, the second, not the second one, but just another one, for example, was so we wanted to get NSF certified. That was like a non-starter. That was a non-negotiable. We knew that part of our marketing and part of our brand strategy being the highest quality brand nootropic out there, we knew it had to get NSF certified. Do you have to do it? No. But the reason why we did it is, and it's coming out now, for quality. We wanted to ensure that everyone knew what they were getting, that what we say you're getting is what you're getting. So we send all our formulas and everything to NSF, and we find that a couple of our ingredients, despite like some like prior research, a couple of our ingredients were like, nope, already we can't certify this. So go back to the drawing board. What can we replace, X ingredient with that'll still meet the efficacy of what we're putting into the capsule, and still pass NSF. So that was another issue. But again, there's been dozens, maybe even hundreds of problems / issues throughout. But they've all, I'll be honest, some of them felt impossible at the moment, but all of us stuck to our guns and continued to solve the problems and find solutions to the issues. And now we have a product on the shelf today, and that's I couldn't be more proud of our team, because it we any other team or many other teams would have probably faltered and just said, no, it's not worth it. That you hit the decision points where it's like, what's more important, launching within a couple months or NSF? And we just said, nope, stick to NSF. Like that's what we know is going to be right. So I'll pause there, because I can go on forever about the whole process over the 3 years, but it's been a really fun project.
No, absolutely. NSF, for anybody who doesn't know this listening, is National Sanitation Foundation, not
Us,
National Science Foundation. There are two separate entities there, but National Sanitation Foundation is what actually does food grade uh, type of certifications. And so that's the one. If you're looking for supplements out there and you read, you're going to see that little sticker, just like everything else that the government does. It says, "Hey, NSF certified," and then you're getting good food grade quality stuff in a supplement. Just as an aside, sorry.
no, actually, I should have explained that first, but I go straight into NSF because that's been a whole thing. But I can go into more on NSF if you like. But
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about it. So you structure your business, right? Branding is always difficult. I think from an entrepreneur standpoint, you have to try to get that, and you want to get it right the first time because obviously, if you're paying somebody or if you're doing it yourself, it either takes time or it takes money, and or both. And so, how does that brand reach the audience? Our business advisor tells us all the time, who's your customer, what do you sell them, and why do they buy it from you? A lot of times, identification of that customer base that you think is going to purchase your products, or the market saturation for the products that are currently in that market, you're like, there's no way, right? And sometimes I think you self eliminate a little bit. Well, then what makes us better? How do we make it just a little better? And I think that's where you're kind of going with the NSF certification.
yeah, actually, I'll just bring up one point in kind of because it's a pretty important I guess insert to the story was like finding your market base, right? Who are you actually selling to? We didn't want to corner ourselves too much into like right off the bat. We wanted to hit an area that maybe hasn't been touched yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like esports and gamers. And the reason why is the only thing really being marketed towards them is energy drinks and over the counters, which is absolutely horrible for you in the long run, right? Nobody else is putting like healthy alternatives or supplements to these athletes, right? I still see them as athletes. We all see them as athletes. So we're like, okay, we wrote that on the whiteboard, like esports gamers, right? But we didn't want to corner ourselves too much in that market. So what we ended up doing is kind of this broad category was we want high stress performers, right? So esports gamers, SOF or special operations forces, first responders, doctors, day traders, creatives, things like that. So now that's kind of like what we call, whether it's the digital native or high functioning, high stress performers is really what Stoned Ape was after. So then I'll jump in. I just wanted to hit on that because I think it's
Absolutely. Go ahead. We got all kinds of time.
it's sort of like who are you actually going after, and that's really the basis of our market base. And so then we thought, okay, well, we understand. I mean, we're my partners, myself, we've taken supplements our entire career, right? Most of us have, and you just kind of take whatever's like the flashiest thing on the shelf or what the guy in the team room is taking because you just don't like some really study supplements, some don't. They just take whatever good marketing worked.
Right.
You're buying it, right? That's what it really boils down to, good marketing. And we found out that like 90% of the supplement world is just trash. And it's either white label, that's just a generic formula that a manufacturer has. And then you can take that, put a pretty label, put it on a pretty package, and sell it. And it's the same exact thing as this ugly label, ugly package, but you're going to go buy this one. So we wanted to ensure that one, our quality was absolutely top notch, top quality. And then another way we can do that was go the extra mile and go get the NSF certification. Now, what that entailed was a whole different story. Now you see why not everybody does it. And I see it in two ways. Most supplement companies don't do it either because it's cost prohibitive, it's expensive as hell, or two, they know their formula is crap and it's not going to pass NSF, and they're not going to put in the time to make it pass NSF. So it's one of those two. So we were very confident in our formula. We had it validated from a PhD, food science PhD, before we sent it to NSF. So we were confident in that, and then we were confident, like, if we have to go, collect aluminum cans, we're gonna find a way to pay for the NSF certification. So we ended up getting it. That was a huge success hurdle for our team. But we ended up getting it, and why is that important? Because so it's third party tested for sport, meaning it's tested for banned substances. So whether you're military, law enforcement, or anyone that like tests for banned substances, professional athletes, collegiate athletes, they won't, in college and professional, they won't let you touch anything that's not third party tested for sport. Okay, so third party tested for sport is one thing. What else are they testing for? So high toxins, metals. But I think really in the supplement world, what I latch onto is why it's important is they are testing for everything you say is on your label is in it. There's nothing extra in it. And then the potency of what you're saying is in your product is in it. So if you're paying, $50 for a protein and it's telling you you've got 25, 40 grams of protein in it and, no sugars or anything like that, turns out it's got 15 grams of protein in it, you're wasting your money. At the end of the day, the potencies are just not there in most supplements, whether they're whether the proteins, creatines, whatever they are, and it's no different from our blends. And so we wanted to make sure that when we tell you there's 300 milligrams of this in it, there is 300 milligrams of that in it. So that was the important, really the important side of it for us. Was that the efficacy of what we're putting in people's hands is there. We wanted to create something that we were good taking and that we were comfortable giving to our family. And I think we did just that.
And as I peruse through your website here, packaging is everything, right? You've mentioned that earlier. You may not even have the best supplement as long as the packaging draws your eye to it. And there's a lot of psychology of color and branding, I think, that go into a lot of that stuff. But at the end, and again, back to I think there's still a lot of confusion in the supplement community, if you will. People who really dig deep and are really high performing athletes like you guys are trying to attract with your product will appreciate the fact that there's not a lot of fillers, there's not dyes, there's not a lot of extra stuff that comes with that supplement. I got to fill the jar up by weight or volume kind of a thing. What's in there is good, high quality stuff, and it's meant for people who are actually high performing athletes of all types. Yeah. And so, it's stonedape.xyz. If you're looking to get on the website, browse around a little bit, read through some of the research that Dick and the guys have put on there, and kind of understand what you're getting out of the packaging. And so as we look to that supplement market, right? You mentioned before esports. In fact, we're going out to a conference here in a couple of days, sponsored by Warrior GMR, who is really that military gamer audience.
And a pretty good organization.
Yeah, and they do good things. And at the end of the day, if we can offer them, hey man, maybe some of your gamers want to look into this as something, for a high performance, athlete who's performing in the esports part of town or whatever that case might be. So what I want to do is I want to go into a little more detail about basically what I feel like are the four things that you guys do. That's the NutriPack, the X Energy, ZenX, and then the Dream PM. So it looks like you're covering that broad range, that I think we all struggle with, especially in the veteran community. I can't go to sleep. I can't sleep once I am asleep, and I can't wake up. So we're in that crazy, weird circadian cycle where we just don't get what we're supposed to get out of today's food or whatever the case might be. I think people look for supplements because they know something's wrong, they just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then you talk to your buddy at the gym and he's like, I take, jacked up, whatever it is, you're like, well, look at that guy, and so often you see, that guy, right? Looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, I take C4 or whatever. And
if I take that, I'll look like that.
Yeah, right. It's
we're all different. We're so different.
Absolutely. And so let's start out with the NutriPack and kind of walk us through what that is, why, who would use it, why would they use it, that kind of thing.
So very interesting you asked that. So how did we land on our first 3 hero products, right? We had a whole list of like, you could, what are all the competitors doing? There's collagen out there, there's proteins, there's creatines, BCAAs, whatever it is. Like, we had this whole list of like, what are we? We knew we were going to have a nootropic, like an absolute like energy focus, cognitive function nootropic. We knew that was it, but we wanted to like have a hero stack coming out. So we had this list of products that we have options of. And what we ended up doing is creating. We created a survey, and we reached out to like every esports gamer organization that we could think of, mostly collegiate esports teams. A lot of them participated in this. And then some just like other esports teams that are big esports teams that were out there. Sent them this survey because I knew I sent some out to like our counterparts, like in the soft world, right? Because I kind of knew like let's do these 2 real quick, because I bet you they're going to have the same ailments. And what ended up coming was like stress, sleep, and just like energy, brain fog, like that kind of stuff. So we're like, and it was almost the exact same from these 2 organizations, or like these 2, like, I guess, biomes, if you will. Like they were the exact same. So we took out, we kept the nootropic, which is energy, and then we had a sleep aid, and then a stress or cortisol management supplement, and then we went from there, and then tightened up the formulas from there. So we'll start with the NutriPack, right? We also then wanted to make sure that they were all kind of synergetic, right? Where they all tied into each other. So there's like this triad of mental wellness, and your peak performance, or your peak, like, I feel good, or like Sean feels good, Lucas feels good, is going to be centered around 3 things more than likely. And that's your stress, your sleep, or recovery, and your cognitive function. And so we formulated them and made sure the formulas were synergetic in terms of like, these are meant to be taken throughout the day together for optimal like recovery and just overall like performance. So we did that as an option because we wanted that as a pack. But then we also have like the 3 that you can buy on your own, right? So like, I'm good at sleeping. I've been taking them anyways just because they're my product, but I've never had a problem with sleeping. But I know some of my counterparts in the military have a horrible time sleeping. And stress. There's just people that some deal with stress more than others. Some have daily stress. Some have just stressors throughout their life every single day. And then there's some that just need like Zenergy or the AM nootropic, which is, your brain fog, reaction time, memory, just being on your A game mentally. So we liked the idea of having that mental wellness angle, because there's supplements out there that are meant for physical performance, and we focus on physical performance way too much, right? But come to find out, like, your physical performance is a byproduct of your mental well-being, or your mental wellness. So we wanted to kind of change that narrative that, like, you can supplement for your brain and other systems in your body, whether it's your sleep, your cortisol, things like that, and not just proteins and creatines and pre-workouts and things like that. Take care of your brain. It's an interesting organ. You should probably take care of that as well.
It doesn't matter how pretty your body looks.
Yeah.
Chunk of meat on top of your clavicles isn't controlling the rest of it. It's not really going to work out for you, man.
Exactly.
And so this is a lot where our 2 companies start to cross over in a lot of ways. And so people take supplements to understand, like when you take a supplement for your physicality, you're trying to grow bigger, stronger, whatever that might be. A lot of those are measurables, right? That objective data is measurable, whether it's a tape measure or subjectively, when you look in the mirror, you're like, holy shit, look how big I am now, or whatever the case might be.
Got more than one ab.
Yeah. Well, I actually have one ab. I mean, But I think we're all built the same. It's just some of us expose it more than anyway. Uh, so when you start to think about, how do you measure, right? So how do you measure the effectiveness of your nootropics? Is it some type of objective data that's measured on a daily basis? Well, everybody has one of these nowadays,
Yeah.
right? That's one possible way to help measure things. But how do you do that in a clinical setting? You know, when I was a medic, the mantra was always assess, treat, reassess, right? So we figure out what's wrong, we do something to treat it, but then we got to reassess. And so in the supplement world, I think a lot of it may be you're like, okay, I assess something's wrong with me. Let me go down to the local HEB and choose the shiniest thing I see on the shelf because I heard it from Joe at the gym, and I stick it in my body, and I'm like, nothing. Well, there's nothing because you bought crap, dude.
Yeah.
Go have a cup of coffee. I think that's what
Yeah.
8 out of 10 supplements on the damn shelf are going to do for you anyway, to be honest. But when you start talking about how do I measure that cognition, right? How do I know that I'm getting, quote unquote, better? So for guys like we are, when you you actually have traumatic brain injury and you have PTSD, and you have anxiety and stress and your cortisol monster and all the rest of that, you have to have some type of a measurable, and that's sort of where we're blended in with you guys. Is that's what our project intends to do, is to be able to take subjective and objective data like that correlated data set, and then you add into it incrementally, right? So you establish a baseline using what we have. You add a nootropic to that. I can't sleep. I can't stay awake. I have a brain fog. Well, what causes brain fog? Holy shit! If I knew that, for old folks like me, it's maybe the lack of testosterone. So we find a testosterone supplement, or we try to convince the VA that we actually need a testosterone, which is impossible, by the way.
Cutting corners on your diet. I mean,
Right.
there's 1,000 different ways we're looking to save 5 minutes to do thing X. All those things add up incrementally throughout the course of the day. Supplementation is definitely key to success.
And so I think that's where this fits into that assess, treat, reassess model, where the assessment, you're the treatment, where the reassess. Now, I understand you're not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease.
Yeah.
Got it. Disclaimer. But at the end of the day, I've also come to realize that most of the things that have that on the label because it's required by the government actually are far more beneficial than that bottle of pills that you're being handed at your doctor. That actually causes an addiction.
Yeah. And that was kind of another goal of ours, or mission of ours, was to be a healthy replacement or alternative to common over the counters. So whether it's Xanax, Ambien, Adderall, commonly abused over the counters that they feel like they're working, but in the long run they're horrible for you. So that was our goal, was to be able to replace or have a healthy substitute or replacement for those common over the counters.
And so, are you guys still pre-revenue? I know you just launched, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we saw that on some of the social media channels, which we will continuously promote on our own social media channels, by the way. But so what do you anticipate your market will be in the next 12 months?
Well, based on some of our testers, and I call them testers because they volunteered and they're like, hey, I've got these problems. I've been looking at some of the competitors already. I'll take some of yours. A lot of ours have been in the soft world, special operations world, specifically some over at the unit, because they have sleep problems. Reaction time is something that they need, decision making, things like that. So I'm thinking we're definitely going to be getting heavy into not just the military market, but the special operations side. And we keep hitting it, but it's the sleep. The sleep side is really, really hitting a lot of people hard. And so we've gotten a lot of good response from the stress management. So Xanax and then Dream has been like a pretty sought after product for the, at least my soft counterparts that are out there.
And being no different than most other normal consumers, I like my ashwagandha. I
Yeah.
started using it probably, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago now. To me, it helps, right? I use Focus Factor because that's what was on the shelf, and I wasn't smart enough, and Stone Ape wasn't up and running yet.
Smart.
Now, now I get to do some conversions, and I will be a consumer of your products because I do believe that nootropics actually do help. The under the brain fog part of this thing, I think, is real for me.
Yeah.
I feel it on a daily basis, and I can tell when and to be honest with you, I'm not going to badmouth Focus Factor. It is what it is. It There's a lot of crap. There's a lot of fillers in it. I'm a label reader. I was a former medic. I get it. I know what I'm taking. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, let me give it 30 days, man. And if it helps, then I'll keep doing it. If it doesn't help, then I'll shit can it. Who cares? You buy the Costco Cruiser bottle. Hey, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I open up my supplement cabinet, I'm like, yeah, I didn't finish that. Well, I didn't finish that. So then you got the potpourri, right? Let me take one of these today.
Well, that was the brain fog. Is my favorite one is this energy because I like the way I feel on it. And for a while, my recall, like it was, and I'm guessing it's connected to brain fog, or maybe we're calling it the same thing, but my recall was just not there. Whether it's like common names or common things or common words that I'm just like, I know this, but like, why isn't it coming to me? Like I'm almost getting afraid to have to do not, go on a podcast or have to do a brief or something like that. Like I used to be great at this stuff, and now I'm slowing down and not recalling as much as I was. And that was one thing I saw immediately coming back to me was just being able to flow the way I speak or flow the way I recall, especially working up at SOCOM. And you get in front of some of these people that you need an answer for, like right then, you can't be like tap dancing because it's real stuff. And I found it like being able to answer, and it just that makes you just feel a lot better when you can do that.
So we had an interesting conversation on a former episode of Vet Connect with Matt Butler. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember Matt, right? So Matt is into psilocybin microdosing and a few of the other things that mushrooms bring to the equation. And to tell you the truth, I think that if you want to go that direction on the little harder core side of town, then you do you. I highly recommend it. But I think if you want to start out with some great
Yeah.
effects of the same thing, whether it's mushroom coffee by Rise or whether it's something by Stoned Ape or whether it's, since I'm a coffee nut anyway, I do imbibe in my Rise coffee, and I'll tell you the truth, it does make a difference
Oh,
to
it's
me.
great. Well, and I'm sure we'll get into like a couple of the ingredients down the line, but like, yeah, those ingredients work because of what they are. So absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 2 minutes. Well, actually, we got about 5 minutes.
I think we were into 5 after. Yeah.
Until we hit a hard break. So let's start down that path now, if you don't mind. Let's talk about some of those ingredients and how they the nootropics in particular, and how they affect your brain at the chemical level. If you want to talk to that depth.
Can't go too far into the chemical level, but I can do like broad understanding of how we pick certain product or how we pick certain ingredients and why other competitors use these.
Sure, yeah.
And why they've been used in Chinese medicine for centuries, even before clinical research was a thing. And now clinical research is saying, okay, yeah, these are what's working. And so you mentioned mushrooms in your coffee. So those are some of the most commonly and well documented adaptogens in medicine, right? In mineral, mushroom, vitamin medicine. Mushrooms have been used, and there's hundreds of different species that have amazing healing and restructive properties to them. And what an adaptogen is, the best way I think of an adaptogen, because there's different kinds of adaptogens, whether it's ginseng, and I'll go over a couple more. But what it is, it's something that helps your body kind of regulate back to where it's supposed to be, right? So we're all on a baseline. Now, not every person is on the same baseline. We know every person is different, but every human body has basically a baseline. And Sean, I know you know this very, very well. We all have some sort of baseline, right? And what these adaptogens do is they try to bring you back down to that baseline. So if you're stressed, it's good to have some stress in your life, but the human body's not meant to live at stress. Um, so what the adaptogen does is brings you back down. So ashwagandha is one of the best adaptogens for stress. It's like, okay, hey, let's counter your stress, and then if the counter doesn't work, let's bring you back down. So you're back down to that baseline. Sleep. There's valerian root, right? So valerian root helps out with sleep because the human body is not meant to stay up forever. And I know we laugh at this because we've been forced to do that. But like, okay, so if you are staying up forever, you've got to recover somehow, or else you die, right? You stress out too much, you die. You don't sleep, you die. Like there's certain things that your body tries to bring you down to your baseline so you don't die. And so same thing, your recovery is bringing you back. You're taking like these adaptogens for sleep or chronic sleep ailments, and it's just bringing you back up to your baseline. And mushrooms are some of the numbers wise, mushrooms are some of the most like prevalent adaptogens used in modern medicine now. And now you see it, like you said, poured in coffee like that. Those supplements, we love that. Like I've used it, I still use it because those mushrooms do have proven cognitive improvement and stress and immune system properties. They help immuno and cognitive function improvement. So we are a big backer of adaptogens.
I think so much of this oxidative stress that people have in their lives nowadays can be modulated, for lack of a better term, by use of a proper supplement.
Yeah, intermittent fasting, detoxification. There's a couple different wellness solutions that you can kind of work in to supplement without any type of interventions, but
Yeah,
having something to pull forward and bring that volume back up is immensely helpful.
absolutely.
And I think taking the place of some of the big guns that people generally get on a walk-in for PTSD I, I like in the VA a lot of ways, whether fair or unfair. My own personal assessment is it's like going to a birthday party. You never leave empty-handed. You know,
You
I'm
need
just saying. And unfortunately, the candy that they're handing out at that particular party doesn't necessarily fit everyone's profile.
no.
Um, and again, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not bad mouthing the VA. I understand that medicine is still a business, and you have a certain amount of time. But what I will tell anybody listening out there right now is nobody takes better care of you than you. You are responsible for your own health care, and if you're not happy, then there's patient advocacy, and there's other choices that can be made. With reference to what care you're getting from whatever facility you're getting it from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think through education, and I really love the fact that your website has a learn section on it that uh, simply breaks down each of the things that you guys are doing, whether it's the nootropics or the energy and brain fog or whatever the case might be. And I know that nootropics was brain fog, but when you start to explore things, education is your biggest ally. If you don't know, go read about it. There's plenty of good sources of information out there. A lot are confusing in the supplement world, to be honest with you, and a lot of it is marketing.
They're confusing on purpose.
Yeah,
Of course they are.
it's by design.
Yeah.
Of course they are. And so if you get what is a we can talk about this all day. What is a good source of information nowadays? What is a non-biased source of information? Well, everybody's marketing, right? And so you kind of have to be able to put a bullshit filter on what you're looking at. That happens through talking to subject matter experts in person, or exploring conversations. And there's so many ways to communicate nowadays. Reddit groups, Discord groups, whatever, Facebook, pick your social media. And a lot of them are honest brokers. They'll tell you, look, man, creatine's the only thing that's ever been proven to do, what it says it does, but not all sources are equal. When you get a guy like that who comes up and says, the big name brands maybe ain't what you think they are, I think then you're an honest broker. And I feel like that's what you guys are, as an honest broker of a National Sanitation Foundation certified product that is meant to do, what you say it's going to do.
Coming up on a hard break. So it sounds like a good place to put a pin in it.
Yeah, we're coming up on a hard one here. So
that was good. That was a good session.
Yeah, we'll be back here in probably about 3 minutes or so. We're going to take a pause for the cause, go top off our juice. We're talking today to Mr. Nick Salinas from Stoned Ape about everything supplement, getting rid of that brain fog, getting yourself in a better place, and generally just being well. So we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Stay tuned in for more on Vet Connects.
Mark and I have both been in the infantry in the Army. I had been in the Marines prior to that. We both ended up in a unit called 1st Special Forces Group.
I was a sniper in the infantry, been a sniper in Special Forces, and did a full career in different types of teams: mountain team, air ops team, counterterrorism team. I met Curtis actually at Fort Lewis when he was running a sniper locker, and then we were on a team together in Okinawa. We've been friends, and we've always talked about going into business and life after the Army.
We got out, went to work in the civilian world, and realized a lot of what we did in the military translated to business. We looked at the cutlery industry, and the people there as a culture were fantastic. And we said, hey, we're going to start a knife company here in North Carolina.
In the beginning, we had a knife grinder, a blaster, some rudimentary tools. We started out and decided, what do we want to make? Well, let's make something we know. So it was a combat knife, and we did 3 models because we figured you got to have more than one when you start out.
You think you know everything about knife because you carried one all your life, but to be quite honest, we were new at it. We didn't know everything, so we took them to a lot of our Special Forces buddies at Fort Bragg. They gave us some advice and allowed us to develop those initial products. Today, we have a whole lot more offerings than we did in those early days. We actually have 3 distinct lines of knives we call gold, silver, and bronze. Gold being the knives we make right here in our shop in North Carolina. The silver line knives are those made for us by our partners up in Olean, New York at K-Bar. And our bronze line are knives we design using US-made steel that are manufactured overseas. A lot of folks think we have a giant manufacturing facility with 100 people. And quite honestly, we have 10 core people that we use to build our knives.
Making a knife isn't as simple as most people think. There are many processes that are involved, so we have checks and balances and continuous quality control throughout the processes. We know that perfection should not get in the way of getting your job done. So while we strive for perfection, we know we'll never achieve it.
I'll never forget the first time we won a Blade Show award because of the rest of the industry, the people who do what we do, saying, hey, you guys have this figured out. We realize quality, it's not just the time we put into making the knives, it's not just the high-end materials or processes or even the money we spend, our raw cost to make those knives. In the end, quality is proven out by the people that hold them and use them, right? If someone's willing to pay for it, and they're willing to carry it, and they're happy to carry it, they might even brag about it, to us, that's the measure of quality. We don't chase trends. We don't put things on knives that don't need to be there. We always joke, and I know this sounds ultra simplistic, sharp, pointy, with a comfortable handle. You do those 3 things, you're probably going to be successful in knife making. And I think if you can take a look at a knife, it's very, very simple, but you can immediately say, I know who designed that, or I know who made it. To me, that's a measure of success. That's what we try to do here at Spartan Blades.
Both Curtis and I care about our country. We fought for it. We took our oath seriously and still do to this day. So since our product goes to end users who use it in the most ultimate fight, we take it seriously, what we make. That when it goes in a box and it gets sent to a customer, that it's ready to go wherever you need to go. And it's going to be there and perform. And that's what we strive for every day.
They're actually in our game, yeah. Curtis Iavito.
Those are really, I'm glad to hear they're still making blades. Those are really nice blades.
Yeah, I've them myself. Hey, welcome back to Vet Connect. We're here with Mr. Nick Salinas from Stoned Ape. We are talking nootropics, wellness, brain fog, cognition, all that good stuff. So if you're just tuning in, the first hour we kind of covered a lot of business and catching up because we're old friends here. In this hour, we're going to talk a little more about the specifics of some of the products that Stoned Ape is producing out there in the market. So, Nick, welcome back. Before we left for the break, we were kind of going down that brain fog path. And during our break, I went down and grabbed my supplements that I have in my cabinet, and I read the labels real quick. And I was like, man, I'm taking a bunch of crap. So I'm glad that Stoned Ape is coming online. You guys are production ready now, correct?
Oh yeah. We've got product in hand. I've got mine in hand. We've sold maybe about 1,000 units so far in the first week of launch, and it doesn't look like it's gonna slow down. So
that is a high quality problem.
Yeah, and so far the responses we've gotten back just after a few days of customers taking it, we've gotten a lot of really good reviews and feedback. So it's been a good experience. It's good to see that all of our effort and pain and suffering that we went through for this project is actually fruited some benefits. So
that's awesome. In the supplement world, man, like we were talking about prior, I think there is just a lot of less than high quality.
Oh, yeah.
And so again, for our viewers just joining, what differentiates Stoned Ape from some of the competition is the fact that they are National Sanitation Foundation certified food grade quality supplements. In other words, when you read the label, what they say is in there. Certified, stamp, no bullshit. If that's what you're looking for in a supplement, then I highly recommend that you go to stonedape.xyz. That's STOND ape.xyz and check out some of the products that Nick and his team have got up there for your consumption and hopefully your future health. Let's talk about your role as the COO of the company.
Yeah.
How does that kind of work? I assume that you run a geographically dispersed work team.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what it is. We've got myself in Tampa, one co-founder in Northern California, one co-founder in Los Angeles, and then our CFO is in Rhode Island. And then our
got all four corners.
Our manufacturer is in, oddly enough, the city I grew up in is where our manufacturer is. That was done by pure coincidence. And then our our distribution center is in Salt Lake City. So it's a lot of mobile working and integration.
Got it. So you see I'm flashing up the website here, but so I find the website very easy to navigate, by the way, which, kudos to you guys. That's one of those things. Taking a look at a little bit of the branding that we're looking at right here. And so if you're looking for this particular supplement, I know you mentioned Xenergy earlier.
Yeah.
Tell us a little more about that, and who do you think your audience is for this particular supplement?
I mean, really, I'd say for this one specifically, it's everyone. It's the sharpness, the focus that everyone seeks to obtain. It's not just that the performance in that day. These ingredients that we have in there are for long-term brain health, which they found. Let's see, they found, I believe it's Mataki and Lion's Mane. There's been some clinical studies that are showing the countering effects of Alzheimer's in a lot of these adaptogens that we spoke about before the break. And those are found mainly in our AM nootropic, which is Xenergy, or kind of our hero product that started us down this line. So that B12, Lion's Mane, those are huge ingredients that have helped with not just that day performance, but long-term brain health, countering certain cerebral, diseases that we see in our society.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about over the break. Like as we took a pause to go, do our thing. The one thing that came to mind was like, okay, how does this relate to aging? So,
Yeah.
like as a kid, I didn't care what I put in my body.
Yeah.
I took the I took the C4. I ate the Burger King fat pills. But now, as I'm getting older, I relocated out of the city, and I'm at a slower pace where I can take the time to focus on proper diet,
Yeah.
proper sleep routines, and things of that nature. So that does become more important as we age. Have you guys had any exploration as to how this product might relate to like the elderly crowd or Alzheimer's, like you were just saying, kind of
Well,
confirm?
what we have done is we've had customers that specifically bought it for elderly parents, but have not received any of that that review or feedback
Yeah.
yet. I'm sure we can dive into some of those, some of those ingredients and link it to further studies on that long term or elderly brain health. We just haven't yet.
Yeah, yeah. One of the opportunities for that is we can help expand some networking, outside of the show. We can make some introductions to people who are doing research in that field.
Oh,
That's
please.
I mean, that's part of what we really thoroughly enjoy about all of this is the networking aspects of veterans and being able to share network exposure from what we have been up to with our contemporaries in that veteran network. So any opportunity that we can to help you grow in that direction, that would be
I
awesome. Love to help.
greatly appreciate that.
Yep.
Anything we can take right now, we will, because yeah, beggars can't be choosers when you launch it, when you first launch a company. So
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's one of the biggest, most entertaining parts of what we're doing is the ability to connect with people and share those opportunities and help grow and get help growing from other people. Like um, previous folks have said, nothing's built on your own,
yeah,
regardless of how hard you want to make that case. It does take a village sometimes to help uh, expand those opportunities that connect and resonate with
yeah,
your audiences and your target market and things of that nature. Glad.
absolutely agree. I appreciate that.
And so as
Yeah.
we're talking here for the audience, I'm just kind of scrolling through the website. What I really love about this is ingredients are listed and explained. So you understand that when you're buying this product, you can go take a look at the ingredients list over here on the left, and then you get an explanation of what each one of those things does. And if that's not enough for you, just click see research, and you got the research links at the bottom where you can go dig a little deeper for yourself. So I think part of what we've talked about here as far as other supplements that are on the market is I don't think you're going to find that level of understanding and research. And so I always look for a source of information, right? And one of those things, when you start doing your own research on some of this supplementation, like I said, you can talk valerian root, for instance, and you will get 100 different opinions on what it does, right? Seldom is there linkage that says the main ingredient in this is valerian root. Here's why you should take it, or here's why we think it works well. Here's the mechanism of action, so to speak. And then here's the research that kind of backs that up. So, kudos to you guys on putting together a really good and informative website, kind of a one-stop shop, very focused, product-centric kind of a website. That's phenomenal. We ourselves have played the website game over and over and over and over, and it's one of those things where, who are you reaching? Again, it's who's the customer, what do they buy, and why do they buy it from you?
That was key for us, was being able to provide the why or the what to what we put in the supplements. One, it was a learning experience for me joining the team, and I had to kind of like really sprint to understand the company once I first joined. But then it's like, okay, well, why our company? And okay, well, our company has this in it, or we got this certification. Okay, but why? Why does that matter to me? We wanted to ensure we answered the why, and we put it in there, whether it's from PubMed, in the those actual actual respected publications, or through our blogs. which is where a lot of our stuff is comes from anyways, from the PubMed. But the blogs are like easier to read, right? You can either read medical publications, or you can read a blog that's a little bit more my style. Like that's just me. I'm sure a lot of other people are just like me. But yeah, that's why we wanted to have those two levels of research available to customers.
Molecular biology and all that
Oh
fun
yeah, I
stuff.
get it.
You know?
It gets
my wife's
real
doing my wife's doing some neuroscience biology right now. She's not really
Oh,
happy with things. She's
So if
feeling
you
a little
found
thing.
have you found any? I noticed in you know, in the Why Stone Date portion of your website, it says, you know, does it something that will make for a great NFT or cover album, not something that's just going to make an NFT or cover album. Do you find some confusion with Bored Ape Yacht Club
well,
and some of the other brands that were huge, you know, 18 months ago or so?
so not that, but I'll kind of like retrace back to our earlier conversation about problems and issues.
Mhm.
So the brand is from, you know, it's coined from the Stoned Ape theory, and I guess I'll just cover that real quick just in case,
Sure.
because it's very important behind like the brand and like, you know, why we have mushrooms in every single product and all that. But just real down and dirty is the Stoned Ape theory is coined from Terence McKenna, who created a theory that, you know, millions of years ago, early primates, as cattle migrated because the environment changed, they followed cattle, you know, shit in a better sense, and those grew mushrooms, hallucinogenic types, and some of those apes ate the mushrooms, and that's where like the catalyst to cognitive expansion kind of started, was from a stoned ape, right? And then so regular apes went this way, and then the developing cognitive apes went this way to create humans. Do we actually believe that? No, it's more of just, you know, what we say is like what we put in our bodies matters. It's important. You have to understand that, and that we're always evolving in some way. So we call it the digital native. Why? Because we're all just staring at something digital 95% of our lives now. It's going to turn probably to 100% at some point. But that's little by little that evolution of people. So that's where it kind of roots in. Now, talk about the problem we first ran into was, how do we ensure, and we still kind of get this, is this CBD? Is this like, is this a drug? Like, what is this? So we had a counter. We knew we were going to run into these issues, and which is why like the education piece on the website was so important, was to divert the idea that it has to do with anything with drugs or anything like that. So we knew coming out the gate with the brand, with the name, we were going to run into these issues. We were going to have to counter some information, which it was a problem that we were willing to take because we felt so strongly about the brand, the name. We knew it was catchy. It caught ears. We liked it. We just knew, like, every time you get that question, or every time it's brought up, or, you know, you get the stiff arm, we knew we were going to have to counter it in some way. So not so much the Bored Ape, but the stoned part of it was a problem, not an issue.
Got it. And so looking again, I'm just perusing the website. And so if I look at some of the branding that you guys have going on here, tell me what this is all about.
So it took us months to land on a logo. We had certain criteria that we knew we wanted, which was very transferable, meaning like it's easy to put on, whether merchandise or a label or a sticker, where we didn't want it too fancy or too intricate, right? Because then there's bleeding. It's not very. It doesn't transfer very well to certain mediums. We finally found a designer that worked with us, and we kind of gave him the story. We gave him our story, so each one of the founders, and then he kind of created this, and it ended up turning into what looked like a video game controller, right? But each symbol actually symbolizes an element, and so each one of us is one of these elements on there. I'd have to bring up like the whole. I mean, he ran through the entire story, but as soon as he was done with the explanation of this logo, we were like, done. We're running with this because we liked it. But yeah, every single shape actually is connected to a certain element, and that element then described or was associated to one of the founders.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I really love the backstories behind how some of these things come to be. It's always interesting to hear other people's, brainstorm, so to speak. When you've achieved success when you have a brand like Band-Aid. Who else knows a 1 3/4 by 3/4 sterile dressing by any other name but a Band-Aid nowadays?
Adhesive bandage.
Right.
It's Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid because that is how you've achieved market dominance. Either you become a verb or nobody knows any other way to refer to your product than by your trade name.
Yeah.
Xerox, Band-Aid.
You can go Google something on a different search engine, but you're going to be told to go Google it.
Right. Yeah, Google.
Yeah, you can go Google on, I don't know what, GoDaddy or not GoDaddy, Ask Jeeves, something, but like you're going to be told to go Google it first.
I think when I was a kid, a Google was a 1 with 100 zeros. It was a Googleplex. Isn't that funny how reference changes? Yeah. And we actually did talk about things like that. So we said the name a Google, meaning a 1 with 100 zeros. Because we couldn't, when you're a kid, you can't really wrap your head around that.
No, not at all.
Now, as we talk about those large numbers, like they're nothing, pentaflops and exabytes and all the rest of the computer language that sometimes we now even take for granted, but it's the reference that's still there, right? We don't know how big that is. We have to equate it to something. Oh, it's the size of a picture. Oh, that's 3 megabytes, on today's phone. I grew up in the, and this may be even a little bit before your time here, so I'm dating myself, but as you've seen that evolution in the Army from that 5.5-inch floppy to that, to that, it was 3 megabytes, I think, or 1.8 megabytes that you could get on that thing. You couldn't even get today's picture on one of those discs that we put all of our training concepts on.
Yeah.
512 kilobyte floppy disk.
The first thumb drive was like 500 megabytes, or even up to like 1 gig. It was like if you had 1 gig thumb drive, you were king.
I remember buying a 1 gig thumb drive at Best Buy for $99. I do remember that very clearly. Damn you, technology.
It's in a museum somewhere now these days.
Yeah. Well, actually, I still have it.
Yeah. It's in the garage somewhere.
Yeah, in a tough box.
And so, I don't think it hurts you guys at all that looks like a game controller. And really, that's what sparked in my mind when I first saw, going through the website, I saw the branding on the hat. I was like, oh, wow, it's a game controller. They sell supplements that, assist with, healthy supplements for gamers to kind of extend their play sessions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think that hurts your brand at all, man. It's and it's really cool.
No. Yeah, we loved it. As soon as we finished that call, we were like, we found our logo, because we went through. Let's see, we held several competitions. I forgot what the website called, but it basically you put up some money and you have a bunch of designers or creatives that submit things. You just give them like a blurb of what you're looking for, and then the winner gets, or like the runner-up gets X amount, the winner gets X amount. We went through that several times. Just nothing came across as like, just didn't speak to us. And then like the most simplest thing that got presented to us with the story is what we went with. And now it's called the Iceman, because one of our teammates, his really young daughter saw the logo and like called it Iceman for some reason. And we're like, that's what it's called. So that is the Iceman.
The fact that it fits the story, though, for what you're talking about with the Stone Apes really and the evolution of man over time. And it all makes sense.
And that was just out of just like, that was cute. That's what it is now, because we never had a name for it. And I was like, hey guys, we need to be able to call it something, right? Like you got the Nike swoosh, you've got to be able to call your logo so you can like refer to it and not just logo. And as soon as we heard that, we're like, yep, it's Iceman. So it's Iceman.
And so you use all natural ingredients with your supplements, is that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What's kind of the comparative there between the bioavailability, for instance, of a natural supplement versus a synthetic supplement?
So the bioavailability that we choose to use through our manufacturer, it means that you can actually trace exactly where it came from. So where, like, basically what country, what company harvested it. It's completely traced back to the ground in some sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Walmart is one of those companies that we've talked about before. When we first started out, we delved into the blockchain world quite a little bit, and it's interesting that Walmart, one of the major companies in the world, has said if you're not on the blockchain by, I think it's 2030 or some number of that, then you can't do business with it anymore.
Shit,
I think
wow.
so when you talk about the ability to trace from origin to product the bioavailability or whatever it is you're tracking, cradle to grave, I think that blockchain is a really interesting way to be able to do that because it does produce that auditable, immutable record.
It does. Yeah, exactly. And I 100% think that's where we're going. Yeah. So crypto traders, that's another one of our digital natives that we talked about. Yeah, it's coming, whether you want to jump on that train or not. But
A lot of that's a scarlet letter now, man.
yeah,
God, we read an article the other day about a game launch. Something was they were using blockchain in the background to really just track access into but people associated that with NFTs and crypto, and the next thing you know, you got the big red scarlet letter on your head, and oh my God,
it's
it's dangerous.
Well,
completely
you're changing the status quo. People are
Yeah.
going to be upset when you're saying, "Hey, you can no longer stick your hand in my wallet to take that dollar for the thing." That's what's going to upset people naturally.
Yeah.
Just got one of those hats. I would love to have had it in time to get out to that event this weekend, but it'll get here as quick as it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so much of
Yeah.
that nowadays is fear, right? So it's an education thing. When people start, apparently my car insurance isn't good, and they need to sell me a subscription to a service. God Almighty, it never quits. You're dedicated out there in TV land. If you're the guy calling me every day at this time to sell me car insurance, God bless you. I hope you do well.
They never quit.
They never quit. Anyway, as we're talked about this whole blockchain thing, it's nowadays I think when people understand the goodness of what that particular technology brings, the distributed ledger technology portion of it, not necessarily the crypto piece, uh, it's a change completely in the way people think about storage of value. And I don't know that people clearly understand what that is yet. We've
No.
struggled with the education piece of that too, because again, just like the supplement market, there's a lot of confusing information out there, but there's a lot of good information also. And that distributed ledger technology is not new either. That goes back to the Yaps in Micronesia when they first they used stones coincidentally as storage of value, and you owned a piece of that stone, and the ledger was kept by the villagers individually in their head, and anytime a share was gotten of that particular asset, then everybody had to rememorize the ledger. That was one of the earliest, and that was thousands of years ago. So it's not new technology, it's just introduced in a digital domain, which I think is a little different nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I digress.
No, it's very, very relative to the topic.
And I think again, our worlds blend here in this wellness part of town. And so I'm interested to see as our product comes live November 21st, and we start to use this in an experimental sense over in the academic world while we're doing the research for this thing. I would love to be able to see what some of the nootropics do in this environment, because it fits naturally with esports and gaming and a lot of the things that we're doing over here. But more importantly, I think it fits with the mental health portion of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of my actually I got two friends right now that are testing right now based off of everything you said. They're one of those I don't want to call them victims, but the VA VA candy party, birthday party that you spoke of, they're on every pill you can think of, and so they're now taking this to see if they can maybe step off of one, maybe two, like just to see if they can improve outside of everything that they're taking, because they don't want to take that stuff, but that's what they're given. So I've got 2 right now pending reviews, based off of everything that they have from the VA.
And as we talk, this is Suicide Awareness Month, and I think we've all felt the sting of that, losing a friend for whatever reason. They take the permanent solution to the temporary problem so many times. I think it's an incremental thing. We like to talk a lot about the tribe and the isolation that happens when you leave the military. I don't know if you felt that in your world. You really haven't done the work from home thing in your side of town, right? Not a whole bunch yet.
I work. I have the ability to work from home a couple days a week, but not full time. I don't know if I could do full time. I have to kind of go interact with some people every once in a while. So
I have to tell you, man, and I think Lucas will back me up on this one. We've always had a tribe, whether it's the Army tribe or whether it's, where you're stationed or whatever it is, but you have an inner circle, you have a tribe that you talk to and relate to on a habitual basis. When you leave the military, like I did in 17, and I started really working from home, man, is it an isolating thing. And I think so many of us aren't equipped. It's the dream, right? Oh, I just want to work from home. It is horrible in a lot of ways.
Like, it's got its perks, but for certain personalities, I don't think it's the best case scenario.
For sure. And I think COVID brought that home to a lot of us when we were, isolated then in our homes, and we had to figure out who our kids were, and some people didn't like little monsters that they sent off to school every day.
Or your spouse or
right. And so it becomes, you hear people, their mental health is affected by the fact that they're isolated a lot.
Yes.
And so if you can start to eliminate some of those, feeling sorry for yourself factors, because you just feel better in general, you don't feel, fat, nasty, and not happy, like me. A lot of times I can identify with that a lot, right? What are you doing about it, dumb? Well, I can't leave my house. Well, okay. Well, you bought the big line. But beyond that, get out in the backyard, do some jumping jacks, just start with little things. And I think a lot of that is people look to that golden bullet, right? Or that silver bullet. Golden bullet, what the hell? I think that needs some nootropic. Yeah, golden eye. But if you can start that one thing, and that nootropic that you're taking clears your brain up a little bit, so you have a little better control or understanding of what your problem set is, then I think most of us are self-motivated enough to go, okay, I got to move.
Yeah.
And then you feel a little bit better.
In the veteran community, at least, you know the difference of doing something or not doing something about your problem. So it's a conscious decision to not do something about it, and it's a conscious decision to do something about it.
Yeah, that's and that was a big turning point for us when we were developing the Xenex, the cortisol manager, where it was helping to regulate not just stress but anxiety. Because anxiety will usually feed that stress will usually feed anxiety. So we were able to kind of like, okay, let's combat both, and that will help with like the tying into your sleep, right? If you're anxious and you're stressed out, you can't sleep. Okay, well, that's another problem. If you can't sleep, you're dragging ass the next day. You're tired, right? So you don't have energy. So it was all connected. And so we kind of thought, okay, well, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And we can't answer that for each individual, but we wanted to ensure that the Xenex definitely hit the anxiety part of it and the stress.
I think that's a big part of everybody's world, especially when, times are, quote unquote tough. And we're lucky here in America. Obviously, we're a nation of plenty, but there's people out there who, I think most people in America nowadays have fulfilled that baseline of Maslow's hierarchy. It's, I tell my wife all the time when she's bitching about the internet speed, I'm like, hey, that's a first world problem. Okay. There's people in this world that are hungry and cold and, et cetera, et cetera.
There are problems out there.
But yeah, I mean, the internet now is part of Maslow's hierarchy. Apparently it's a universal right. So, okay, whatever.
Yep.
It is what it is. But I think we deal with our problems how we deal with our problems. But we're all searching for that one thing that's going to just make it a little better incrementally at a time. And so why not try it? Right?
I mean,
Why would
why
you not?
not? There's worse things you can try, and there's things that can actually be a solution, or at least a stepping stone to wellness, right? Um, we are no way ever saying this is like the golden ticket to you'll never need anything ever again. No, we just want to help in some way, and provide a healthy alternative to a better mental wellness or mental health state, which then feeds into like your physical wellness, right? You feel better mentally, you're probably going to work out, maybe not just work out harder, but even if you're just go out and work out, you're doing something better for your physical state. Your physical state then ties into your mental state. So it's all symbiotic in some way.
Yeah, that whole man concept. I mean, you really do need to deliberately do something about your physical fitness. You do need to do something about your cognitive awareness. You do need to be emotionally, spiritually sound and resolute in what you're doing. So if you're not addressing, those types of issues, then you're going to be at a deficit. I'm just tired of processing another friend. Took their own life because they were stuck in a temporary bind. That stuff is unacceptable anymore, and that's partly why we started doing what we're doing with the game.
I
It's
love that.
it's a language that everybody in that demographic speaks. Everybody's played video games while they were deployed. So we took that opportunity to kind of transition what we were doing in the blockchain space into this wellness space because we think it fits really well. And it's easy way to build those communities to where we can interact as a cohort, a veterans cohort, to kind of like drag each other along because sometimes it does get lonely when you're stuck working from home, and the only person you get to stare at for 8 hours is me and Sean staring at each other through these damn idiot boxes. So
I love that you guys are doing it. And if there's any way down the line that we can support you guys, keep in touch and let me know. I do love what you guys are doing, and we're here to support.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's going to come for us but us, man. It's a veteran problem, and it's going to take a veteran solution to figure some of this stuff out.
I agree.
That's our disposition, and that's what we're sticking to.
That's so true, and that is part of the tribe. I mean, we talk a lot about other veteran businesses on here for a reason, whether they're charities or whether they're businesses or whatever the case they are. I've said it my whole life. There's no problem an A-team can't solve ever. There's not one. And the fact of the matter is we forget that when we leave, right? We all go our own way. We become successful in business or whatever it is we choose to reach out in because we're that kind of type A body. But what do you give back, right? How do you give back? How do we reunite that tribe again to say, hey man, we can solve this problem together? And I think that is the strength of the veteran community.
I love that narrative. That's perfect.
And we do talk a lot about those pillars of resiliency. That's faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. And those things kind of degrade predictably as you're isolated. We learned these things in some schools we've been to before. It's insulate, not isolate, right? And so as you start to degrade, especially in these times, those finances become tight. And because of that, maybe you can't go to the gym or whatever the case might be. You think you can't be fit unless you go to the gym. And then your faith starts to erode or whatever the case might be because you have family problems or you lose someone close to you or whatever the case might be. And then really in the end it comes down to your friends, and that's your tribe. And so when you reach out to your tribe and your tribe says, bro, I remember you, come on. And I think that is the beauty of the military family, is no matter how far along you've been separated, it's a phone call. It's like boom, you tell me what you've been up to, I tell you what I've been up to, and then how do we push ahead together? It always works that way.
It's that shared experience from the Bravo team leader in Dahlonega. We've all had to duck your head and go carrying the 240 up the side of the mountain at 3:00 in the morning. You're like, well, let's pitter patter, let's get at it.
We're all in it together.
Yeah,
because of that shared suck, and I think I hate to admit this, but I think the SEAL community is very good at that. They're very good at post-service link ups and the ability to solve problems, generally with violence of action. And however that shakes itself out, it might be violence of action in marketing, it might be whatever the case might be. we have the opportunity to interact with several different veterans. I jump on Coffee Talk with Tarlin83. Shout out to you, brother, if you're out there. And he's a former medic who really Monday, Wednesday, and Friday he gets on at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we just talk about anything we want to talk about. And the subjects on that show go from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Those are the best ones.
And absolutely, and they restream on Twitch and YouTube and several other social media platforms. But I think the fact of the matter is, so many people can identify if they never interact. It's just a good space to come in and really not limit what you say in a lot of ways, and you're just able to reconnect with that tribe. And I think there needs to be a lot more of that, and that's part of what we're doing here too. We hope our listeners jump on and have a look at what we're doing. We hope you interact with Regiment Gaming, who is a huge military community of gamers, or Warrior GMR, organizations like Stack Up and Sound Off, who are really have great programs to prevent veteran suicide. I'll plug those guys every chance we can get, man, because to tell you the truth, they're doing the work that I don't believe the government agencies are currently able to handle. And so if we can offload some of that, and it gets the older veterans who actually do need in-house care, the ability to get, I'm not saying all veterans don't need equal care. I'm not saying that at all. But I think there are folks who, let's face it, they have more need, than some of us in the. Am I the younger generation now or not?
You're straddling both sides of that fence at this point, old man.
I don't know where I fit anymore.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's uplifting to be able to connect with veterans in some capacity and help. And that's something that we take a little bit of pride in, is being able to share that opportunity and other experiences with people to go along to get along. We're all here to do great things, whether it be in a digital capacity, in a therapeutic capacity, in a supplemental capacity. Nobody's out here to make all the money in the world. We're out here to do something to help some folks and keep a little bit of change in our pocket for when we want to buy something nice for the wife.
There you go. I love what you guys are doing. This is awesome. It's been an absolutely great experience to do this and catch up with you guys too. So
it's nice
to reach out too.
Yeah, we love hearing that you're doing great things, man. We're cheering you on.
Appreciate it. Trying.
Hey, and honestly, Nick, if you are in touch with other veteran entrepreneurs or whomever, and they want to jump on, for 2 hours and you shoot the BS with us or whatever the case might be, we're always happy to promote other veteran businesses and help anybody to do what we're doing. What I will do for you, if you're interested, I have your email address. I'll send you a download link for the game and a game code so you can play. But what you owe us then is to help us out. little bug fix on that one. If you see some or
feedback.
Feedback.
You guys got it.
You gained at least 2 more customers today, because now I can clean out my medicine cabinet of all the junk that I have in there and go.
I appreciate it. Well, right now, and this is everybody out in the Twitch world too, we have another week of the launch special. So it's thank you 20 will be 20% off for the next week. It's thank you all uppercase 20. So for one more week to celebrate our launch, we're doing 20% off.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat right here.
Yeah. Turn around, push that out on the socials too. Should have known that before I ordered that hat.
Next.
Yeah, I gotta use that on the supplements. So,
hey, I'm a hat geek too. So any shout outs you want to give out there to the TV world? We got your thank you 20, get you 20% off at stonedate.xyz for anybody who's listening out there or who listens in the future. Anybody you want to shout out to, your business partners?
Really, I'd say my business partners, Shane, Naga, Aaron, they've been pivotal. They've been mentors of mine throughout this whole process. They were kind of my A team that we talked about. I don't think I could have done this without that A team that we had. And for everybody viewing, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Stop by the website. You don't have to buy anything. At least just educate yourself. There's plenty in there to read. Just stop by and feel free to let us know what you think. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Stoned Ape Inc. INC. So Stoned Ape and then INC, and come follow us and then watch us evolve.
Hey, what's your social media numbers look like? Just curiosity.
We just started, so we're still pretty low.
Yeah.
We've been kind of under the umbrella for the most part, just because we haven't really kicked off marketing yet. We wanted to get launched, do the friends and family things first, work out all the bugs, and then once we start generating, we'll have a little bit more for marketing. After that, we should get some of our social medias up. But yeah, we're embarrassingly low.
That's all right. We'll help you with that if we can. Any future products that you have currently working that you want to tease out here a little bit, or let people know to look for? Or
right now, nothing in the R&D section. We've got ideas, but nothing that's kind of in the works right now. We're still trying to get our feet under us with the first launch, and then once we've got that whole fulfillment system, manufacturing kind of on autopilot, then we can go back to R&D and go, okay, what's that next novel, kind of on the same trajectory as the other products? What's that next one going to be? Admittedly, we don't know what that is yet.
Okay. No, man.
The market will give you all the inputs you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are thinking about it, but nothing's just kind of like caught our attention just yet.
You may not need anything else. Sometimes you just shoot at 5 meters until the target falls down, right?
Yeah. Keep it simple, right?
That's all you can do. I know some of the other supplement companies out there have grown quite large based on the ability to touch the high-performing athlete part of town. If there's one audience that you could focus on, would it be that esports audience, or would it be just a little bit bigger than that? You said any high-performance athlete.
Yeah, really any high-performing, stress environment prone individual.
Okay, and that's not to say anybody out there can use the product.
It really is for anybody, because at the end of the day, these ailments that we've kind of honed in on, they're the everyday person's problems, right? It's not just the athletes, it's not just the lawyers or whatever it is. It's the house mom. It's everybody's dealing with the same stuff. We just don't talk about it.
So
even those that are walking around, you think that they've got no problem in the world. Their sleep is probably crap. They're probably stressed out. They're probably dragging ass. Something is bothering them. Even those that we think are invincible heroes.
So one more thing I can offer you if you're interested.
Let's hear it.
Would you like to be a character in our game?
Absolutely. Why not? Why not? I don't think I've ever been asked that in my life, or will ever be asked that ever again. So I have to strike while the iron's hot. Yeah.
And so kind of what we're doing with reference to our game is we use real characters in the game, and then there's stories that come along with those things, whether they're war stories or success stories or whatever the case might be. So ideally, we're headed for kind of a campaign mode that allows you to replay some of these things. Currently, our characters, guys like Rick Lamb and Carl Erickson and Brian Halstead, and some of the legends in the community. But we're always on the lookout for new characters. As far as we're concerned, we're working on some other integrations that may make our game a better interface for the medical system that we're kind of building around this whole thing as an assessment tool. But it's always good to have interesting characters in the game. And the beauty of being the game designer is you don't have to look like this. because you can make a character look
yeah. That's the mustache your character has, though.
My
character's back when I had hair.
I like it. That is awesome.
And that's absolutely And so good. What I'll do, man, is I'll send you some backside stuff when we get offline here if you're interested
Yeah, please
in
do.
becoming one, and we'll drop you, as an upgrade pack down the line. As we, the funny thing is when our neck is doing some of the development on these characters, he tends to get a little crazy with some of it uh, because it's funny, to be honest with you. And next thing you know, you find yourself in some weird position or whatever the case might be, and you're like, ha ha ha. And so here's what one of those characters looks like. That go
That's
with
awesome.
it.
That
Yeah.
is awesome.
And so I have now, I look more like my character, only not quite as slim.
I can tell the resemblance. Don't worry. And the Marine fatigues.
Yeah, yeah. And right now we're looking for people who want to put their stuff in the game too, man. So if you're a major gear company out there and you'd like to be part of this journey with us, we'd love to have you on board. Shout out to Curtis Ivito over at Spartan Blades, who said, "Yep, I'm on board with that." And so
I love that.
we put 3 of his models in the game, added some increased characteristics to them, so that instead of 15 slashes with that blade, if you're wielding that Spartan blade, man, you got a little more kill power
And
with
they're
it.
beautiful blades. I think that's a good placement.
Having visited their shop down there in Southern Pines,
Mine's yeah.
and just seeing how that's evolved, I have an actual blade signed by Bill Harsey, who is a creator of the Green Beret knife, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And we were on a chat with Curtis a while back, and I showed it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, you better hold on to that one. That one's really
Never again will that ever exist.
And in fact, my brand new second lieutenant daughter got one of those for graduation. So,
Oh, congratulations!
yeah, she wants to be a medevac pilot, so she got a
Very
Spartan
cool.
blade. Got to keep it in the family, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Dad doesn't buy, frilly stuff. You got
Congratulations.
she got a Glock and a Spartan blade.
What else do you need? I don't.
Because that's what we have to do. So, thanks, Nick, for coming on today with us, man. We really appreciate you spending, nearly 2 hours with us now, telling us all about Stoned Ape. We're excited, man. I'm excited personally because I'm definitely be a customer of your supplements. But I think integration, sort of with what we're doing, in a lot of ways makes sense as we go forward with some of the assessment pieces and the software we're building around the game that we're doing right now. We will be at the Warrior GMR conference this weekend out in Washington, D.C. Lucas and I will be out there representing our brand. Hopefully I think we're going to sit on a board out there.
Yeah, there's some discussion panel early before the event thing kicks off. We'll definitely talk about upgrading your consciousness with Stoned Ape while we're out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And again, whatever we can do to help support you guys, tag you and everything, and yeah, and just really keep in touch.
Absolutely,
brother.
Many
Always
hands
good to see
light
you.
Work.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Great to see you. Take good care. We'll be in
Have
contact.
the rest of your day. All right. Bye.
Hey, everybody out there. We got about 2 minutes left here on Vet Connect. So what we'll do is take any questions. If there's any questions, if Nick's going to hang around for a couple more minutes, we'll take any questions that you might have. If we don't see any, then we'll just talk to that very cool engineer we have in the background, and he'll sign us off.
Yeah.
I'll give you about 30 seconds here. If you got any questions for us, just drop them here in the chat on Twitch. And we'll sit here and look silly for the next minute or so.
No way, man. Go hit up Stoned Ape's Discord. Get in there. They got some great content. I've been following their Discord since the very early on. I've watched it grow a little bit. They've got some great material in there to get a little bit smarter about what they're doing, which really impacts your personal health. Can't underestimate or overestimate or can't say enough about how important it is to take care of yourself. Cognitive wellness, super important, especially in the demographics that Sean and I seem to find ourselves falling in at this point. Need to clean it up a little bit. Need some supplements to help. Encourage you to go check that out. I haven't followed them on Twitter yet, but I'm about to right now, so we can start sharing some of their content in that regard too.
Hey, and you're welcome to come back here anytime, man.
Yeah.
Bring your partners along. We can bring your chemists, bring your big brains along. We can dig deep into the microbiology of what it is that's going on in the nootropic world right now. Um, I do love to dig into that the science. I got a medical geek somewhere in my brain still. It, I need the nootropics to get to that portion of my brain, but I think it's still actually it does kind of exist out there. Um, what other What do we got left here? A minute or so. Do you guys do? Have you done any other podcasts, Nick?
I was on the Deep Dark and then Unlikely Journey. Just a couple of other small ones for some friends. Deep Dark is it's hosted by Fidelis. It's a veterans marketing company out in College Station, Texas. Check them out; they're pretty good. But yeah, they invited me out to. I was out there for drill anyway, so I came in early and went back to my old stomping grounds, College Station, and sat down with them for a little bit. Did you know Chris Thompson?
Yeah.
It's their group. Yeah. So I sat down with him. He's linked in with them too. He started Cleaner.
Yep, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. So yeah, I sat down with Chris and then the host of the Deep Dark and spoke with them.
Great. I'm going to go check that out right now. So out there in TV world, we're going to shut down for now. We'll see you next week back here on Vet Connect. Please join us at 11 Central on Wednesdays for Veteran Talk, Veteran Business, and anything veteran related. Hey, thanks for watching.
Follow with them Frontlines on Twitter. Hop in the Discord for some chats and Twitch as well as YouTube.
See you next week.
All right, thanks. Hey, appreciate you coming out.
Mark and I have both been in the infantry in the Army. I had been in the Marines prior to that. We both ended up in a unit called 1st Special Forces Group.
I was a sniper in the infantry, been a sniper in Special Forces, and did a full career in different types of teams, mountain team, air ops team, counterterrorism team. I met Curtis actually at Fort Lewis when he was running a sniper locker, and then we were on a team together in Okinawa. We've been friends, and we've always talked about going into business and life after the Army.
We got out, went to work in the civilian world, and realized a lot of what we did in the military translated to business. We looked at the cutlery industry, and the people there as a culture were fantastic. And we said, hey, we're going to start a knife company here in North Carolina.
In the beginning, we had a knife grinder, a blaster, some rudimentary tools. We started out and decided, what do we want to make? Well, let's make something we know. So it was a combat knife, and we did 3 models because we figured you got to have more than one when you start out.
You think you know everything about knife because you carried one all your life, but to be quite honest, we were new at it. We didn't know everything, so we took them to a lot of our Special Forces buddies at Fort Bragg. They gave us some advice and allowed us to develop those initial products. Today, we have a whole lot more offerings than we did in those early days. We actually have 3 distinct lines of knives we call gold, silver, and bronze. Gold being the knives we make right here in our shop in North Carolina. The silver line knives are those made for us by our partners up in Olean, New York at K-Bar. And our bronze line are knives we design using US-made steel that are manufactured overseas. A lot of folks think we have a giant manufacturing facility with 100 people. And quite honestly, we have 10 core people that we use to build our knives.
Making a knife isn't as simple as most people think. There are many processes that are involved, so we have checks and balances and continuous quality control throughout the processes. We know that perfection should not get in the way of getting your job done. So while we strive for perfection, we know we'll never achieve it.
I'll never forget the first time we won a Blade Show award because of the rest of the industry, the people who do what we do, saying, hey, you guys have this figured out. We realize quality, it's not just the time we put into making the knives. It's not just the high-end materials or processes or even the money we spend, our raw cost to make those knives. In the end, quality is proven out by the people that hold them and use them, right? If someone's willing to pay for it and they're willing to carry it and they're happy to carry it, they might even brag about it. To us, that's the measure of quality. We don't chase trends. We don't put things on knives that don't need to be there. We always joke, and I know this sounds ultra simplistic, sharp. pointy with a comfortable handle. You do those three things, you're probably going to be successful in knife making. And I think if you can take a look at a knife, it's very, very simple, but you can immediately say, I know who designed that, or I know who made it. To me, that's a measure of success. I mean, that's what we try to do here at Spartan Blades.
Both Curtis and I care about our country. We fought for it. We took our oath seriously and still do to this day. So, since our product goes to end users who use it in the most ultimate fight, we take it seriously, what we make. That when it goes in a box and it gets sent to a customer, that it's ready to go wherever you need to go. And it's going to be there and perform. And that's what we strive for every day.